Hello, beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, and also that is here to help you experience the love and the light of the beautiful angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I do this through one-on-one angel sessions, which are a beautiful way to deepen in your connection with your divine guidance. I also offer soul mentoring, which provides for consistent support as you navigate a time of growth or transition in life. And a variety of classes and circles are also available. I love getting to facilitate and teach and support you in bringing more light and inspiration to your path. So you can learn more tomorrow at my website, illuminating-souls.com. But for now, it's time for you to rest and sleep. So I invite you to cozy on up, snuggle on in, and make space to begin to let go of the waking world so that you can drift off into the great mystery that is sleep. As I've shared with you before, I have been using sleep podcasts for years as part of my well-being. I find that they help build a bridge from my alert and conscious waking life and help give me permission to just let go. I used to be someone who used the TV to fall asleep, but over the past few years, that has felt less appealing to me. And I just love crawling into bed at the end of the day. It's one of my favorite times of the day. And it doesn't mean that I don't absolutely love my waking life too. There just seems to be something that is very nurturing and soothing about being able to crawl in bed at the end of a day and just let go. And I put my earbuds in and I pick a podcast and I listen. And it helps my mind disengage, which I find is so important. So if you're new to sleep podcasts, you may need to give this a try for a few nights and just see if it works for you. And if you're not guided to use it to help you sleep at night, you may find that it is a helpful respite in the middle of the day. If you need to take a 20-minute break or something, you can put this on and it may help you relax and get centered. So however you are guided to use this podcast, it is here for you. The angels and I are going to be with you for the next hour or so, and the angels will be with you far beyond that. I seek to make these episodes about an hour or so because I find as a listener, that's what I prefer. This way I don't feel any pressure to hurry up and go to sleep, which is not compatible with good sleep at all. But I find that an hour is a good amount of time, and usually for me, I'm out, about 20 minutes in or so. There have been episodes that I have wanted to listen to because they sounded interesting, and I had to listen to them when I was awake because I never seemed to be able to make it through them. The other thing I find really helpful about sleep podcasts is if you happen to get any of those 3 a.m. wake-up calls, the ones where all of a sudden you're wide awake in the lightworker community, there seems to be a lot of conversation that seems to be a very sacred time when our guides talk to us. I'm not so sure about that. I love the idea of that, but when I'm up at 3 a.m., it doesn't feel very sacred. And so I put in my earbuds and I turn on a podcast and I listen. And sometimes I stay awake and sometimes I fall asleep, but it helps me from going into a place of anxiousness that I'm not sleeping. Like, there's nothing worse than wanting to sleep and being aware that you're not sleeping. Like, there's nothing about that conundrum that helps us fall asleep. So I find that these podcasts really help create a sanctuary so we don't have to think, we can just listen. The other thing I really want to acknowledge right now is I'm recording this, it's March of 22, and there's a lot happening in the world. And my sense is a lot of you who are listening are empaths, meaning you feel in your heart, you feel energy. I'm aware that I am one who experiences the world through my heart. I have always been this way. I have always felt deeply. My father used to get worried about me. He says, "You feel so deeply, I worry for you." I didn't know enough then to say, "Dad, it's my superpower." Wait till you see what I do with it one day. And my sense is this is likely true for you too. And right now there's a lot happening in the world. So I know for me, I've been feeling a lot. One of the things I often do is I'll say, "Is this even mine?" And more often than not, it's not mine at all. And also I have been experiencing deep fatigue, especially the past few days. I seem to do pretty good in the morning. I love mornings. Mornings are my time. Mornings are my jam. And I love early mornings because most of the world isn't up yet. But I'm finding by 2 or 3 o'clock, my energy just falls off. And I get so tired, but not so tired that I need to sleep, just fatigue. And I think it's because we are surfing so much right now in the collective. So whatever is up for you right now, whether it's personal, whether it's what's happening in the world, I want to invite you to take a deep breath in and out. And we're going to stream in the love of the angels to support you. If you're new to the world of angels, they are celestial beings, divine messengers of God who embody unconditional divine love. And they have been with you since before you were born. Your angels know you. They love everything that you are, and they are here to support you. And I don't know if you've ever heard the term of clairsentience. Clairsentience is ways of intuitively feeling. It might be feeling tingles, sometimes when the angels come in, I get tingles in the top of my head, or people get goosebumps, or you feel a wave of love coming over you. So it may be that you feel the angels coming in as we call them in to be with us. And if you don't feel anything, it doesn't mean they're not here. Not everybody feels in the same way. Another beautiful way to connect is to imagine, using your imagination center as a gateway to connect with the angels, because where our imagination center is overlaps with the intuitive divine center where we receive our divine guidance. So I'm going to call in the angels, even though they're already here. So beautiful angels on high, we ask that you join us here. And we ask that you help each of the beloveds here know that they are loved and supported in this moment of time. Angels, we ask that you clear any fear, any worry, any burdens that we need not carry, that you clear these through the heart of God. And angels, please bring healing to any parts of our heart or consciousness that is feeling sorrow or upset. Just bringing healing and light to the circumstances. And angels, please bring blessings of comfort and love to any parts of our hearts that are feeling distressed. Just surrounding us with love, knowing that we are not traveling this path alone because where we are, God is. And that the divine love of God is helping to carry us forward. Angels, please fill the spaces we are in with beautiful divine light that brings healing and love to everything it touches, so that not only do we receive it, but everything that surrounds us receives it too. May this love ripple into the world far beyond what we can imagine. May this light and love bring comfort to those who need it. May grace find each one of us on our path, and may we have the resourcefulness to ripple this grace far beyond what we can imagine too. Thank you, angels, for allowing us to participate in this beautiful wave of light. Take a deep breath in, my friends, and let it out. And know that you are a beloved of God. You are a beautiful soul who is incarnated into this time and place to help amplify the frequency of loving here in this world. And it's not that you need to live a big, famous life to do that. You do this through ordinary moments that you may not even know happened. A moment of kindness as you do your marketing. A moment of gentleness that you show to another. The way you take care of the animals in your neighborhood. In 1,000 different ways, you bring more love into this world. And the angels and I are so deeply grateful for you. And with your permission, while you sleep tonight, the angels will help to clear your energy field of anything that no longer serves you. You know, we all have those narratives in our consciousness that we sometimes hold tight to that don't serve us. You know, old beliefs and old paradigms, or an upset that we carry in our hearts about another. You know, stuff we really could be done with, but somehow it feels sticky and we have trouble letting go of it on our own. Well, if you're okay with it, the angels will help declutter a bit and help lift some of those more sticky old stories and experiences that you don't need to hold on to. You know, the things that come with moments you have had trouble just letting go of on your own. They'll help clear this out for you because it'll make space for you to experience more grace and more love. I think I shared this with you in another podcast episode. At the University of Santa Monica, where I received my degree in spiritual psychology, they teach a beautiful form of forgiveness, and they focus on self-forgiveness. That forgiveness isn't so much about having to forgive another for a transgression, but it's about forgiving ourselves for judgments we have placed upon ourselves or others. So they lead us through this beautiful process. And it starts off with the words, I forgive myself for judging myself as, and then you fill in the blank. So I forgive myself for judging myself as unworthy of love. I forgive myself for judging myself as not doing enough. I forgive myself for judging myself as a disappointment. I forgive myself for judging myself as unworthy of great love. I forgive myself for judging myself. And then you just fill in whatever judgments you're placing upon yourself. And one of the powerful concepts that has really helped me, especially when I combine the angels and this concept of forgiveness, is to give the angels permission and to ask them to bring to me a wave of forgiveness across time and space, and not needing to know what is up for forgiveness. And I find this to be so helpful when I feel stuck in something. You know, I'm a human being like you, and there are things that'll feel sticky to me. Maybe I'll harbor hard feelings about something, or I'll think something should have gone differently than it did. Whatever it is, or I'm feeling a difficulty with an experience. And I ask the angels to wash this experience with waves of forgiveness throughout time and space, through the known and the unknown. Because I may not even know where the roots of whatever this is lies. And so I just ask for the blessings of forgiveness across time and space and service to the highest and best good. It's a powerful experience. And so if you would like to try that on as you drift off, we can just ask the angels with your permission to bring to you waves of forgiveness from the divine heart of God across time and space, to the past, to the present, forgiving and washing clear all of the energies that can be resolved through grace and service to your highest and best good. It also helps to contemplate this for those of you who resonate with working with the Christed light. It's a version of bringing the Christed light in, bringing the eternal flame in to clear the energies so that they can be transformed into higher frequencies of light it helps to lift our light bodies and energy bodies. So what are you willing to let go of? How's that for a big question? Whatever you're willing to let go of, just hold it up to the light and take a breath and just say, yes, I am willing. I'm willing to come into my wholeness. I am willing to come into the fullness of my heart. I am willing to receive love generously. I am willing to come into the brightness of my spirit and just let the divine light fill you up, coming into the beautiful essence of who you are. Taking a deep breath in and out, letting your spirit grow lighter and lighter as you become more of who you are. So take a deep breath in and release, giving yourself permission to drift off into the beautiful mystery of sleep, knowing that your angels will be watching over you. And I'm going to read to you for a little bit. And I thought we could explore some of the history of Hollywood together. And when I say Hollywood, I don't mean the entertainment industry. I mean the city and the neighborhood of Hollywood. There's this wonderful magazine that was published back in the early 1900s called Holly Leaves that was all about Hollywood. And the issue that we're going to be looking over together is from July 1st, 1922. One of the interesting things I think about the urbanization of Los Angeles is it's relatively new, comparatively so. You know, if you live in Europe, you're used to walking down streets and seeing buildings that are hundreds of years old. So by comparison, the urbanization of Los Angeles is fairly new. So, for instance, it has this picture on the front of the magazine of what they refer to as the Bernheimer's Hollywood Hilltop home. And it is this magnificent estate. And when I looked at the picture, I didn't quite know what it was. And I Googled it. And it turns out, for those of you who live in Los Angeles or spend time there, this is the building that became Yamashiro's, which is a famous Japanese restaurant on the top of the Hollywood Hills. And my friend Google brought forth the following information, that it was two brothers, the Bernheimers, who were architects, and they also had an extensive Asian art collection. And so they built this estate as their home, and it's magnificent. If you ever get a chance to go there, it is really an extraordinary experience. But that's on the cover of this issue of Holly Leaves, is what we now know as Yamashiro's, but then was the Bernheimers' estate. So the first article we're going to read is about the Crotona Institute. Now, I didn't know about this before, but the Crotona Institute was a center for theosophical education. And it's up towards Beechwood Canyon, if you know Los Angeles at all. So I'm going to read to you this article. It says, Crotona Institute, a school of theosophy and occultism in the hills overlooking Hollywood. It is world famed. Crowning the hills above Hollywood and looking out over the suburb, the city, and far away to the mountains and sea, is Crotona Institute, an educational institution specializing in the teaching of theosophy, the only one of its kind in the world. The name taken from that of the colony in Italy, where the great philosopher Pythagoras once had his school of science, art, and philosophy. The grounds comprise over 24 acres with no considerable spot level except the orchard. The hills and slopes afford an opportunity for unique landscaping, grading, including graceful curves in the roads and pathways that wind up the hills. Autos can drive even to the highest point. Coming up Vista Del Mar Avenue, one passes the beautiful Knudsen home at the head of the street and soon reaches the Crotona Court. The architecture is in the Spanish style, and the patio and the lotus pond, the tiled corridors, and the growing vines and shrubbery make a restful and beautiful atmosphere. Here one can linger in the colonnade, or browse in the library, or at meal times join the Crotonians, I'm saying that right, join the Crotonians for refreshment in the cafeteria. Behind the court on a little knoll stands the lecture hall. Public lectures on theosophy are held in its auditorium throughout the year, and affiliated organizations hold their meetings here. Just north of the court is the science building, in which the students have their institute classes, and up the hill to its right is a series of cottages occupied by students and workers. The library, open to the public every day, contains thousands of books on theosophy, occultism, metaphysics, philosophy, comparative religion, science, as well as more general subjects. By automobile, it is only about 15 minutes' ride from the center of Hollywood to the shore of the Pacific Ocean. Okay. I'm laughing because that drive now would easily take you an hour and a half because of how crowded it is. So by automobile, it is only about 15 minutes ride from the center of Hollywood to the shore of the Pacific Ocean. You can see the waves from the heights back of the city any bright day. So this is part of what I find so enchanting is the photo of the Crotona Institute. They said it's over 24 acres, right? And it's on the top of this mountain in the Hollywood Hills. And things are not developed around it. And it's remarkable to me that within a few decades, everything would be built up around that. Truly, there's no way you could get to the ocean in 15 minutes unless you were in a helicopter, because everything around this and to the east of it and the west of it has been built up in such a relatively short period of time. And I looked this up. I had never heard of this before. I mean, does this not sound like a place that is designed for me and maybe you too, right? Oh my God. Yeah, let's go to the Hollywood Hills and study theosophy. I mean, how amazing would that be? That just had my name written all over it. I don't know about you. And I wondered what happened to it. So at some point, they sold the buildings and the land because I'm sure it became incredibly valuable. And they relocated up to Ojai, which is west and north. So it's on the way up to Santa Barbara. And apparently part of this, of the Crotona Institute, became apartment buildings, kind of groovy apartment buildings. Again, my friend Google told me this. So if you Google Crotona, which is spelled Krotona, Hollywood apartments, you'll find all kinds of stories about it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then wouldn't you know, right there is a little ad for Laurel Cafeteria. I would have for sure had to eat there. At 6616 Hollywood Boulevard. It specializes in home cooking by women cooks. I wonder why that's important. Do you think that it's because it's it's like home cooking? Home cooking by women cooks. Clean, wholesome food. Okay, so that's interesting. The other article I thought would be fascinating to share with you is about the Hollywood Bowl. The Hollywood Bowl is such a cool experience. I think even if you're not in the U.S., you have probably heard of it before. It's pretty famous. Nowadays, the Hollywood Bowl, there's this like huge, it looks like a shell, like a band shell that they would have. That is the stage. And then there's tiered stadium seating. It's very intimate and rustic. In the front of the Hollywood Bowl, they have the boxes where those, of course, are more expensive and exclusive. And they have tables and chairs, and you can bring your picnic. I actually never have sat in a box, so that was never something that was availed to me or I chosen to. And then they have like tiered stadium seating. They're just benches, basically. At least they were when I was there. And you would sit out under the stars and listen to music or have an experience. And I don't even remember who I saw there. I think I may have seen Elton John there once. And I may have seen James Taylor, and I've seen orchestras. And it was always just a lovely evening to get to go to the Hollywood Bowl. But this is Hollywood Bowl in July of 1922. 100 years ago, almost, by a few months. So let's see what they say. We're going to go on the Wayback Machine together. The Hollywood Bowl, wonderful natural amphitheater within few blocks of business district, where 100,000 people can see and better still hear all that is said. That's true, the acoustics are great there. One of Hollywood's greatest community assets, perhaps the very greatest, is a gift of nature, the bowl. Nestling in the lower reaches of the foothills and only a few minutes from the heart of the business district, accessible by streetcar and automobile, and to the pedestrian, is one of the finest natural amphitheaters in the world, where 35,000 seats have already been installed, and where the audience capacity of the hillside is practically unlimited. It is estimated that 100,000 people can easily be cared for here, and so perfect are the acoustics that a word spoken in an ordinary tone of voice or the softest strains of music can be heard to the farthermost and uppermost rim. The entrance is through a picturesque canyon which extends far into the hills, and the entire mountain property of about 70 acres, with the bowl in the center, is owned by the Community Park and Art Association, formed for the purpose. The money is being raised largely by popular subscription with the aid of a few large donations. The price paid was $65,000, but the property is easily worth twice that amount and has been held for this public use through the generosity of its former owners, Mrs. Christine Wetherill Stevenson and Mrs. Marie Rankin Clark. And then they go to list the officers of the association, which I'm going to skip over because I will likely not pronounce their names correctly. The possibilities of the bowl have long been realized, but it is only during the last 2 years that it has been made available for the community. The Easter sunrise service has been held there twice, with the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra, nearly 100 strong, directed by Walter Henry Rothwell, I wonder if that should be Walter, but it just says Water Henry Rothwell, and donated for the occasion by W.A. Clark Jr. to furnish the music. It looks like it says leading local divines have conducted the religious service. The crowds present have been estimated from 20,000 to 30,000 people, all of whom had to arise long before the daylight to be on hand at opening just as the first rays of the Easter sun shoot across the eastern hills. These occasions have been of great inspiration and seem a fitting yearly climax to the religious life of the community. The services are sponsored by the Hollywood Community Chorus, of which Mrs. J.J. Carter is president, and Hugo Kirchhoffer, I hope I'm pronouncing that close to right, Hugo Kirchhoffer, director, and a big feature is the singing of the Easter hymns by the people en masse and by the Hollywood Children's Chorus, arranged in a cross of white on the hillside. Another event held in the bowl last year, and to be an annual feature hereafter, is the Christmas Eve service, with the singing of the carols and with the illumination of the community Christmas tree, a living tree planted at the suggestion of Carrie Jacobs Bond, with the appropriate ceremony and destined to grow to be a stately ornament and emblem in the bowl. This event is also sponsored by the Community Chorus, which from the first has been active in the success of the bowl project. Indeed, so persistent has Mrs. Carter, the chorus president, been in her support of the bowl enterprise that she has become known in Hollywood as the Bowl Lady. And then there is a picture here of the sunrise service for Easter. It's really interesting. You see lots of people just sitting on the grass because this is probably before a lot of the seats were installed. And the shell doesn't exist, the band shell that, I don't know, I'm probably calling it the wrong thing, but that doesn't exist yet. There's just a stage. And I have to say, being somebody who's gotten to go to the Hollywood Bowl, it's so interesting to see where it started. I'm so glad somebody had the vision of keeping it for this use and not developing it into houses. And since we're talking about different Hollywood landmarks, how about if we talk about Griffith Park? So, Griffith Park is on the eastern part of Hollywood, up in the hills, and there is the Griffith Park Observatory, which is very famous. But this is, again, early days of Griffith Park. This would be 100 years ago. So it starts with a picture of a very rural looking, a glimpse of Griffith Park, head of Vermont Canyon, showing picnic grounds, the site of proposed Greek theater, another great theater that is outdoors in Los Angeles, provided for in will of Colonel Griffith J. Griffith. I didn't know somebody donated that for that. Look at all this that we're learning together. So it starts with a headline that says Splendid Griffith Park, Mountain Recreation and Pleasure Reservation, contains 3,050 acres, including Mount Hollywood, 1,657 feet high. Along its north side, Hollywood is built up against a mass of billowy mountains, part of the Santa Monica Range, which extends from the Los Angeles River on the east to the Pacific Ocean on the west. Its eastern point includes Griffith Park, which borders Hollywood on the north and east and contains 3,050 acres or 4.77 square miles. Its surface is fluted and furrowed with elevations, canyons, ravines, and peaks. The highest point is Mount Hollywood, that rises 1,657 feet above the sea, nearly 4.7 times the height of the Masonic Temple in Chicago, and more than double that of the Woolworth Tower in New York. Not far from the park on the west is Cahuenga Peak, 1,826 feet in height, and beyond that toward the ocean, peaks can be seen 2,800 feet high, while over to the northeast in the San Gabriel Range, summits are plentiful that tower skyward 6,000 to 9,000 feet. Hollywood people merely have to spend a few minutes to visit this great mountain park, which is only one of the many superior attractions that give pleasure and variety to life. Los Angeles City plans to improve this recreation theater until it will become one of America's greatest city playgrounds. Multitudes of grand views may be had from Griffith Park, of city, sea, and miles of mountain undulations. There are far stretches of automobile roads, trails, chances for ultimate hiking. Griffith Park includes a small zoo, soon to be enlarged to one of the finest in the country, picnic places, and a public golf course. The park was the magnificent gift to the city by Colonel Griffith J. Griffith, who made the donation in his lifetime and then augmented it at his death with bequests running into the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the building of the Greek Theater in the park at the head of Vermont Canyon, and for the establishment of a popular astronomical observatory at the top of Mount Hollywood. These improvements are soon to be made by the park commissioners, one of whom is Van Griffith, son of the donor and an honored resident of Hollywood. Oh, that's fascinating, isn't it? And there's a part of me that is so grateful that people were able to be philanthropic with their wealth and donate great expanses of land for these purposes. I think I've gone hiking in Griffith Park once or twice. My favorite place to go hiking in Los Angeles is Will Rogers State Park, another great donation of land by Will Rogers. And it's wonderful that these places exist, and there are still places within the urban center to go and experience nature, go for beautiful hikes. LA is known for great hiking grounds. Okay, I have to say, this one I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's because I wish I could time travel back with a bunch of money and buy some property and take care of my future generations. This is an ad for real estate. Hollywood Scenic Tract, the sensational success of the famous West Hollywood district. Over 1/4 closed out in 8 days. This superb scenic subdivision extends from Santa Monica Boulevard to Melrose Avenue, from Kings Road to Newcomb Street. Big lots from 50, 70, and 75 feet wide to half acres and acres. Wait, this is the part that hurts. Prices as low as $1,000. Easy terms, discount for cash, inducement to builder. Okay. This is a once upon a time story from my life. Back in 1993, I was working at Pacific Arts, which was a home video company, and I was contemplating buying my first condo. As long as I lived in Los Angeles, property was always exorbitantly expensive. No matter how much I earned, it wasn't enough. And this condo was a tiny 1-bedroom. And when I say tiny, I don't think it could have been more than 500 square feet. I mean, it was really small. I know in some places in the world that's not considered small, but here in this area it is. It was going to be $85,000, which I'm sure now this condo would be $400,000, right? Or $500,000. So prices have really been crazy. But $85,000, and it was on Kings Road. I mean, this whole area, Kings Road, from Santa Monica to Melrose, is such expensive real estate now. So if anybody gets that whole time travel thing going, that it's reliable, let me know. Maybe we can put our coin together and just buy a couple of nice lots there and hang out. And back in the day, the Bodhi Tree bookstore was near there as well. It's not there anymore, but it was a great metaphysical bookstore. Ay, $1,000. Yeah, I'll take a couple. Sign me up. Sign me up for 4 or 5 of them. That'd be great. But alas, there is no time travel like that. So, okay, well, there you go. Let's see what else I can find. This is a beautiful apartment building. They don't say how much it is, but it's a 4-family flat building at Crescent and Sunset, which I know where that is as well. Beautiful old apartments that I know are not there anymore. Nothing looks like that there. There's also ads for pianos and other kinds of real estate. Let's see if I can find anything else interesting to share with you. And then I skipped ahead to another issue that's a few weeks later, but still July of 22. And there's an article that says the department store era. Hollywood is about to enter a new era in its retail merchandising career. The era of the department store, the Cromwell Robertson Swift store at Hollywood Boulevard and McCadden Place, will be ready for its opening in a few weeks under the management of men long and successfully experienced in the business, and the new Broadway store at Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street. It promises to be ready for the first of the year, directed by men who are already famed as retail leaders in Southern California. These big mercantile institutions, equipped to match the Los Angeles stores in both buying and selling, will be the very foundation of the new trade in Hollywood day that is coming. For after all, it is not community loyalty or local pride that is going to hold business in Hollywood, but price and service. I just thought it was interesting they were talking about Hollywood and Vine, which of course is very famous now. And there's been a lot of articles in the past 2 issues here about a performance of Carmen at the Hollywood Bowl that people are very excited about. It says Carmen in the Bowl last Saturday night, one of the greatest opera performances in all of history. Like some famous artist's colorful masterpiece suddenly become animate, with the canvas figures transformed into living, breathing actors and actresses, was the spectacle which first greeted the immense throng in the Hollywood Bowl last Saturday night, when one of the greatest productions of the opera Carmen and one of the 2 greatest outdoor productions of grand opera ever given was staged. When the curtains rolled back, it was a picture which made the thousands assembled exclaim in surprised admiration and enthusiasm, which found expression in hearty applause. The scene moved swiftly, and the panorama changed with kaleidoscope effect, increasing with artistic and dramatic interest, and holding with enrapt attention every auditor. Atmosphere, color, costuming, natural scenic environment, and other attributes essential to faithful reproduction of Bizet's great opera were there, and its lyric charm was greatly enhanced because of the outdoor setting. History was made that night, not alone because of the record production, but because of the preeminence given the great natural amphitheater, with its marvelous acoustic properties, a place which is destined in the mind of many people with high ideals to become the greatest center of art, music, and drama in the country, if not in the world. The opening scene revealed tiled roofs and plastered dwellings not unfamiliar to old days of Spain and California, and still to be seen in some of the well-preserved structures. Then the painting came to life. The orchestra swung into full action and the opera was on. Here in the public square of Seville enters Michaela, sweetheart of Don Jose, with a message from his mother. As Michaela, Edna Leopold, lyric soprano, achieved new laurels that night and elicited hearty plaudits of the crowd. Zuniga, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, Zuniga, captain of the guard, and my mother would be horrified because she loved opera, so forgive me. Forgive me, Mom. Zuniga, captain of the guard, impersonated by Karl Gantvort, basso, former star of the Boston Opera Company, and Don Jose, with Edward Johnson tenor, star of the Chicago Grand Opera Company in the role, are the leading characters who appear next. Each actor received an ovation as he came into the scene, and as the opera progressed, each was more and more warmly applauded. La Carmencita, Carmen, the tantalizing, daring, vibrant, capricious cigarette girl, bursts upon the admiring soldiers and other admirers. Madame Margarita Sylvia, internationally famous, was in the stellar role, and her appearance evoked a storm of applause. At the close of the famous habanera, a song of fickleness and love while trying to attract the attention of Don Jose, the young sergeant, she was accorded another popular demonstration. The changeful scenes abound in action and emotional interest, the greatest one being where the impassioned Don Jose surrenders heart and soul and body to the enticing Carmen. And then it goes on to talk about the rest of the opera. It sounds like it was really a magnificent experience, especially back then, because where else would you have these experiences? Now we take for granted that you can put on Netflix and turn on your sound system and hear and experience something. And back then that wasn't possible. So that really must have been a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Well, thank you for letting me share this with you. Having lived in Los Angeles for so long, it brings back lots of memories. I used to work near Hollywood and Vine when my last job was in downtown Hollywood, and so I spent a lot of time in that neighborhood. And then I also lived in West Hollywood for years, and it's interesting to see the evolution of Hollywood. So thanks for letting me share this with you. My hope is you are asleep. If you're not asleep, that you're resting. And that my wish for you is that you have sweet dreams. And that the love comes streaming into you. And that you're able to replenish and restore. So you have a good sleep. And know that you are loved and you are precious. And I'm deeply grateful for you. We'll talk again soon. Good night.